Is now the time to buy a house? Hi, this is Jim Gibson. Thank you for joining me today on this channel. I have been investing in real estate for well over 20 years, and it's been very profitable. And I've enjoyed myself, and it's also has had a nice return. So I like real estate, really do. I like houses. I like the commercial property and everything that comes with those things in real estate. So I decided a couple years ago that I need to get out of California. And the reason why is the taxes are going up. There's a lot of laws being passed I don't agree with, things like that. Whatever your political persuasion is, I just decided it was time to invest in another state and not in California. It's just wise just to spread out your investments a little bit if you can control them. And I'm going to do a video in the future on how to buy a house and how to manage a house in another state. It's quite easy and it's quite interesting, and I think you would enjoy it. So I decided to go to Texas. Texas houses were relatively low and had considerable value to them. I could see them in the future going up, and I could see that it was easy to rent them out. It appeared that the state was growing. And so I bought this house, and I waited too long to buy the next house. I know that now, looking back, that I waited too long. But I decided, I would say a year later, 6 months later, whatever it was, I decided to go back and buy another house. So when I was there, I was looking at all these houses, and I remember one that to me kind of stuck in my head. I was driving down the street for the first time in about a week. And I noticed there was a sign there in front of the house that I did not see before in this neighborhood. And so I called the real estate agent up and I said, hey, when did this house come on the market? And they said, well, it came on the market about 2 hours ago. And I said, well, fantastic. What are they asking? And he said, $350,000. And I said, I don't think it's worth $350,000. I think, I just bought a house that was nicer than this, under $300,000, but I know the houses were going up, so I said, okay, I can offer $350,000. And he said that was their asking price, but there's someone that came in higher than $350,000. I said, who would come in higher than an asking price? That was kind of bizarre to me. But I said, hey, I got cash. And they said, nope, everyone has cash. And I said, who is everyone? And they said, people from California coming out here are swamping the area. And they're all coming with cash in hand because they sold their $800,000 house and they can buy a nicer house here for under $400,000. And they have this cash. They don't care. They just need it today. And they're buying like this. And so we're putting them up for bidding. I remember when I was a kid, my parents would go to a place called Pennsauken Mark in New Jersey. And when you went to Pennsauken, New Jersey, there was this little area where there would be, selling things. And one of the things that they would do is they would bid these things out or auction things off. And I was just a little kid. I couldn't understand what the auctioneer was saying. He was talking so fast. I'm sure if you've been to auctions, you've heard it. But, hey, we want to sell this for $10. I hear 10, do I hear 10, 15, 15, 15. Do I see 20, 20, 20, 20? And, I know some people put their hand up and he'd say, okay, I see $20 here. I see 15, $25 over there, $30 over here. Do I hear more? $35, $35. And someone would raise their hand. And eventually he'd say, sold to the man in the white hat. And, they'd sell this stuff to people that way. And that's the first time I ever saw an auction. But that's what was going on in Texas. Okay, I'm asking $350 for this house. Do I hear $360, $360? Okay, I got $360. Who's going to give me $370? Who's going to give me $370? And these people were just throwing money at houses left and right. And at the same time, the Fed had lowered, the Federal Reserve that is, had lowered the interest rates. And you could get a decent mortgage for 2.9. In fact, I had 2 mortgages that I purchased at the time for 2.9. That was fantastic. And so people were there was a frenzy. Gotta have a house today. Gotta have it today. Oh, this person's offering $380. I'll offer $390. Don't worry about it. I sold my house for $800,000 in California, so I got that cash in my pocket and I can buy it today. I don't even have to get a mortgage. That's the attitude that was going on at that time in Texas. I decided it's, when everyone is buying, It's time for me to sell, not buy. So I decided that that I did not want to make any more offers, and I would sit back and I would watch what's going on with this frenzy, and it was interesting to see people just buying houses like this. You know, you couldn't even make an offer. You made an offer at 10 o'clock in the morning, you'd be outbid by 12. And these are all nice neighborhoods. So, you know, maybe if you go outside the city somewhere else where the neighborhood is not as nice or whatever, I don't know, you'd probably get a better deal. But that was back then. And then the Fed came in because of inflation. And I'll do a video on what causes inflation in the future. And there's a reason for it. And I tell you what, the Federal Reserve causes a lot of problems in our economy. And it's been that way in the past. But the Fed started raising interest rates. Now that's interesting. A lot of people don't pay attention to interest rates. But if you're in the real estate market, you pay attention to interest rates, or you should be paying attention to interest rates. You know, just a side note, I remember a neighbor across the street from me here in California, and he's a nice guy. And I talked to him about a couple of things, and then he said, look, I'm going to be moving next month. They foreclosed on my house, and this was back in 2008. And I said, they foreclosed on your house? He goes, yeah, I'm out of work, I don't have any money. The best thing to do was declare bankruptcy. They took the house back, you know, whatever is going on there. And I said, I'm really sorry to hear that. I really am. He goes, yeah, well, what can I tell you? Then I ran into him maybe 5, 6, 7 years later. And I said, how you doing? He goes, oh, I am just so happy that I bought a new house. And I said, well, fantastic. I said, what did you pay in interest rates? He goes, I don't know. And this is, you know, again, probably just 10 years ago. And I said, really? You don't know what the interest rates are? You better pay attention to interest rates. People pay attention to interest rates. So when interest rates go up, people decide not to buy houses, so and big expenses. So at that point, a lot of people stop doing bidding on houses. And because of that, now we're in a recession. That's not only houses, it's a lot of other things. And we can talk about that on another video. But when we talk about the housing market, now we're in recession when it comes to the housing market. So people that were selling or thought they could sell their house for this amount of dollars are finding out, sadly, that no one wants to buy it because of the cost of a mortgage. You just can't afford it anymore. And houses are just outrageously high. And so the housing market, because people aren't buying, is slowing down drastically. And some people have to sell their house. So what they do is they drop the rates. And I have been following Zillow and Redfin, stuff like that, and I'm looking at some of the neighborhoods there in Texas to purchase that house I wanted to buy 2 years ago, or our house is similar to that. And when I look at it, you know, the price drops, you know, $10, $15, $20, I mean $20,000 price drop. And then on top of that, I've seen $50,000 price drops. So people are getting desperate. So at one point, we had people everywhere trying to buy a house and outbidding each other. Now it's become a buyer's market. So back then it was a seller's market. Now it's a buyer's market. And it's kind of difficult to buy, you know, to sell a house at this point because of the price difference. The prices are really going up. And so it's kind of difficult. But I've been through a handful of recessions or downturns or whatever you want to call them. So I've learned some lessons when it comes to that. Now, if you're trying to sell a house and it's desperate, you have to sell the house, well, then you're probably going to have to lower your price today because there's just not a lot of buyers out there. So when you got a lot of buyers for a small amount or a less, you know, a limited amount of supply, the value of the supply because of demand is going to go up. So you're going to have to pay more for it. And it makes sense, you know, but if you have a lot of supply and few buyers, people now are bidding the other way. They're dropping prices and they're trying to, you know, get you to buy their house because they want out. So if you're in that situation where you own a house and you're trying to sell it and it's not selling, one of the things you should consider is renting it out. I've been renting houses out for years, and there's a way to do it. So just don't go in willy-nilly and start renting houses out, or buying houses in that case. You need to study, what's the best time, what are the best tenants. Do you turn it over to a property manager, things like that? Does it make money for you? Things like that. So if you have to sell your house, now's not a good time to do it. However, if you want to sell the house and or if you don't have to sell the house but you have to move, let's say, well, now might be a good time to put up for rent and rent it out, let someone pay the mortgage on that house, and you may be able to buy another house, or you may be able to rent. Actually, I would not be buying a house right now because I see the mortgage rates are dropping, are going up and up and up, and houses are dropping. And that old saying about trying to drop or catch a falling knife, you don't do that. You wait till it hits the bottom, and then you pick it up. Now, that's the way to go. So if I was I would not be looking for a house at this time. Just because the value of the houses are dropping left and right. And it's not a good time to buy a house because they'll continue to drop. The Fed raises interest rates, and sometimes they do it over and over and over again. And my thought is, why do they do this so close to, that's another story. But to make a long story short, I would not be buying a house right now. And if I had a house to sell, I would not sell right now. I would be putting it up for rent. But I am going to wait it out a little bit before I buy or make offers on houses again. I want to see the market stabilizing. A friend of mine that does real estate investing, we were talking about real estate investing, and he said to me, Jim, when are you going to buy a house? And we're talking about the fact that house offers are dropping, and that the value of the house is dropping. What people are asking for is dropping. And he said, so what, are you going to try to time the bottom? And I said, no. That would be crazy to try to figure out what the bottom is and then time your purchase based on the bottom. I said, no. What I am looking for is I'm looking for a time where it makes sense to buy a house. That house in Texas I bought for $300,000 or less than $300,000. That house is still almost $400,000 in value. It's dropped some, but it's still, a little less than $400,000. Let's say, I don't know the exact amount, but to prove my point here, houses are going to have to drop a lot more before the real estate market actually increases. Now, a lot of people flip out over that. Oh, the world's coming to an end. And I watch YouTube, the other YouTube channels and things like that, and they have pictures of houses with red crosses over them, X's over them, saying, the world's coming to an end. The houses are, no one's buying, and it's terrible, and we're going to be in this big bankruptcy and all this other stuff, and they're going to be repossessed. And something, this is pretty normal. Buying and selling, and this is what happens. There was a frenzy on buying, a year ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was, until the Fed started raising interest rates. This was foreseeable that they were going to do that. I mean, it got to the point where it was absolutely crazy. The interest rates were so low, lowest in history from what I understand, but I might be wrong. But at the same time, it's not coming to an end. The world is not coming to an end. I like you to tell you that. And the real estate business is not coming to an end. Yes, it's slowing down, considerably slowing down. But at the same time, if you're an investor, this is an opportunity for you. Now, back in 2008, when everything slowed down and everyone was getting out of buying houses, and everyone had decided that they wanted to be a real estate investor, and they just were buying houses as much as they could and everything else. And then all of a sudden it started slowing down, and everyone wanted to sell those houses. So to make a long story short, it's not the end. It's going to recover. But if you own a house and you got to sell it, it's a really bad time for you to sell it. you should look into possibly renting it. If you're looking at buying a house, it's a really bad time to buy a house. And again, it's the old try not to catch a knife that's falling. You just let it fall and let it see where it ends up, and then you buy the house. Of course, you look at value. If it gets to the point to where, hey, I can make money renting this house out, then buy it. It might be a good deal for you to buy the house at that time. But just because you know, houses are dropping right now, they probably are going to drop a lot more. But it's not the end of the world. You know, the phrase I used to teach my kids, who are all adults now, I used to say, everything changes all the time. If you trust that what you see today is what you'll see tomorrow, then you'll be wrong. And no one can tell you about tomorrow. None of those naysayers on the other YouTube channels can tell you what's going to happen a year from now. But the bottom line is, if you're interested in buying a house, pay attention to the market. If you're interested in selling your house, pay attention to the market and come up with alternatives. Another ways of doing things. Put on your thinking cap, as they would say, and think about what advantage is there in my strategy today based on how things have changed. Remember, everything changes all the time, so it will change. I don't know if it's ever going to go, well, eventually it'll go back to where it is because of inflation. But the bottom line is on this, is it the right time to sell? Is it the right time to buy? There's other strategies out there. Adjust your strategies so it works for you. Think it through, study, see what's happening there. And I hope that answers your question. The world's not coming to an end. Thank you for watching. You have a good day.